Have you ever walked past someone who needed help and just kept going? Be honest, I think we all have, at some point. Maybe we were in a hurry, maybe we felt awkward, or maybe we just told ourselves, someone else will help. It's a common human reaction. But today I want to talk about a story that challenges that very instinct. A story that's over 2,000 years old but feels like it could have happened yesterday. It's a story about a man left for dead, the people who ignored him, and the one unlikely stranger who stopped. It all starts on a dangerous dusty road, the one that winds down from Jerusalem to Jericho. It was notorious for bandits, the kind of place you wouldn't want to travel alone. And on this road, a man is doing just that. We don't know his name, his job, or where he's from. He's just a traveler. Suddenly, out of nowhere, robbers attack. They strip him of everything he has, beat him mercilessly, and leave him half dead in a ditch by the side of the road. He's bleeding, broken, and completely alone. His life is fading away with every shallow breath. Now imagine the scene. The sun is beating down. The man is groaning, barely conscious. And then he hears footsteps. Hope. Someone is coming. By a stroke of luck, it's a priest. A man of God, a community leader, someone whose entire life is dedicated to serving others and representing holiness. You'd think, okay, he's saved. The priest sees the man lying there, covered in blood. And what does he do? He crosses to the other side of the road and keeps walking. He doesn't stop. He doesn't even slow down. He just passes by. Why? We can only guess. Maybe he was afraid the robbers were still nearby. Maybe he was on his way to an important religious duty in the temple, and touching a bleeding body would have made him ritually unclean. Whatever his reason, his personal priorities, his rules, his schedule were more important than a man's life. The man in the ditch watches him disappear over the horizon. The hope flickers. Two men, both pillars of their community, both men who were supposed to be moral examples, saw a human being in desperate need and chose to do nothing. They saw the problem, they understood the situation, and they walked away. At this point, things look grim for our traveler. The two people most likely to help have abandoned him. He's probably given up hope. And then a third person comes along. This man is a Samaritan. Now, to understand the shock of this moment, you need to know the history between Jews and Samaritans. To put it mildly, they did not get along. There were centuries of deep-seated religious and ethnic hatred. They viewed each other as heretics, as enemies. A respectable Jew would go miles out of their way just to avoid walking through Samaritan territory. They were the other, the people you were taught to despise. So when this Samaritan sees the Jewish man lying beaten in a ditch, nobody would have blamed him for walking past. In fact, most people would have expected it. He had every historical and cultural reason to say, not my problem, he's one of them. But he doesn't. He does the exact opposite. The story says that when he saw the man, he felt compassion. It wasn't a thought, it was a feeling, a deep, gut-level pity that moved him to action. He doesn't hesitate. He gets off his donkey, kneels down in the dirt beside this man who would probably have spit at him on any other day. He takes out his own supplies, oil and wine, which were used as ancient disinfectants and salves, and he gently cleans and bandages the man's wounds. He's not worried about getting his hands dirty or being late, but his help doesn't stop there. This wasn't just a quick patch-up job. He takes him to the nearest inn, a place for travelers to rest. He doesn't just drop him off at the door. He gave his time, his energy, his resources, and his money, with no expectation of ever being thanked or repaid. This story was originally told by Jesus in response to a question from an expert in religious law. The expert asked, "What must I do to inherit eternal life?" But the expert, wanting to justify his own actions and probably wanting to limit who his neighbor was, pushes back with a follow-up question, "And who is my neighbor?" The answer was painfully obvious. The expert, probably through gritted teeth, can't even bring himself to say the word Samaritan. He just says, the one who showed him mercy. And that's the heart of it all. The story isn't about defining who deserves our help. It's about becoming the kind of person who gives help. A neighbor isn't defined by their proximity, their religion, or their race. A neighbor is defined by their action, by their compassion. The priest and the Levite were geographically close, but they were not neighbors. It's a choice we make for people in need. Real love crosses the lines that we draw between us and them. But this ancient story calls us to look past all of that, to see the human being right in front of us. The person on the side of the road might not be physically beaten. They might be struggling with loneliness, with mental health, with poverty, with a crisis we know nothing about. The question for us is, who will we be? Will we be the priest or the Levite, too busy, too preoccupied, too clean to get involved? Or will we be the Samaritan? Will we be the ones who are willing to stop, to get our hands dirty, to give our time and resources to show mercy even when it's inconvenient, even when it costs us something, and even when the person in need is someone we've been taught to see as another? The story of the Good Samaritan is a challenge. It's an invitation to stop asking, who is my neighbor? And start being one. It's a call to let compassion be our guide, to see the shared humanity in everyone we meet, and to act on it. Because in the end, that's what truly matters. Thanks for watching today. If this story resonated with you, let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're looking for more content that makes you think, be sure to subscribe. See you next time.